Hi there, I'm Danny Henderson. Welcome back to my full disclosure channel where we do tackle the hardest, unimaginable at times topics on this planet. Things that you cannot believe, that you think that's too far-fetched. Humans wouldn't do that to children or adults, especially humans in the highest echelons, the Vaticans, the governments, the militaries, acting, science, education, music, everything you can think of at the top is infiltrated by a lot of monsters, obviously. Not all of them. I'm giving you a very graphic warning. These ladies have been to the ends of hell and survived, and they came through their survival with names of these monsters. I'm very happy to bring back to my channel again Dr. Juliette Engel. Welcome, Dr. Juliet.
Nice to be here, Danny, and it's time to be here.
Definitely. And my beautiful friend, Cathy O'Brien. Welcome back, Cathy.
Thank you, Danny. Yeah, this is a wonderful time to be bringing truth to light. People are ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Cathy, you and I just came back days ago from the great event, Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection. It was your first one. We held it in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is one of the worst places in America for child trafficking. Please give us your thoughts, your feedback on everything that you experienced there.
That's just absolutely one of the greatest conferences ever. I'm still aglow from it. It's so much more than anyone could begin to imagine because the vastness of information is like mind expanding, and the whole spiritual vibe of the place is such a high vibration and a celebration of truth and a celebration of peace and joy. And it was amazing conference, something I wish everyone everywhere could experience and be able to embrace truth so comprehensively and realize that we have all the power. I mean, no matter what direction, no matter what vast direction information came from, it all came back to empowerment, personal empowerment, and spiritual, just a whole spiritual evolution. As beautiful.
It was so beautiful. The people, I mean, to me, the speakers are absolutely glorious. They've lived through things, they've brought information. Some of them have done research, others are experiences. But the most important people, I feel, are the audience. It's the audience. Their energy, their love, their intelligence, their frequency, they've all come with so many different experiences and they're so beautiful. And it's wrong for any conference to not put the audience first. That's my own personal opinion. And that's why I think my events are so successful because we literally love on the audience. As you know, Cathy, you were there. At the very end, we do a ceremony. And I said to the audience, this is pretty much my favorite part where we, the speakers, we pour love into you. And most people aren't expecting that. You've got big stars up there. People would call, people get, I mean, I can give a shit who's famous and who isn't. If I love you, I love you. If you're honest, you're honest. So, Billy Carson and Praveen Mohan and Elena Danan and Cathy O'Brien and so many other beautiful, Nikki Allen and so the people sitting there looking at these people they admire and adore, read their books, follow them. But when those people turn and pour love back into the audience, that alchemizes something in them, doesn't it? That brings a healing. That exercise, we didn't exercise, Dr. Juliet, where there's that people come in the room and we sat in circles of 10 and everybody shared experiences with each other. And at one point, all the speakers came back in the room and we sat on stage. We didn't want to be distracting to start with. Well, they didn't even see us, and that was a beautiful experiment done on purpose, and I wanted to witness that. And Amanda, my global director, she's brilliant. It was her idea. And what we saw was the audience were connecting in, they were being heard. Nobody in their circle was judging them, mocking them, laughing them, thinking you're crazy, because you don't have to prove who you are in an event. So it was just beautiful, so beautiful. So to anyone watching, I love you guys for coming. Thank you for supporting us. It's beautiful. Right this second, as I'm recording with Cathy and Dr. Juliet, we are selling those that were in the room that special event price, which will be over by the time you get it. But the tickets are on price now for England. England! Anyway, let's move along to sharing. Juliet, hopefully you'll be happy to know that when we released our first broadcast on the 18th of September, which is the first time I'd got to sit with you and feel into you and hear part of your long experiences. I did actually mention you. I put you into my physical GSIC presentation, didn't I, Cathy?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, it was beautiful.
oh, well,
Beautiful.
thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
So,
I felt like I was there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It was important because you and Cathy are two, I think, of the biggest voices. We also have Max Lowen, who stood and said what the Vatican did to all the little girls and boys. And we also had Rachel Vaughan, who I gave up part of my own presentation because, she's on stage saying there's three children been missing since 1967. And it was her dad who stole them off the street and they're buried in his garden. But the Australian police and the governments, and they're all ignoring it for all these decades because it would then mean that the light shines on some of them, wouldn't it? Which is where we're going to go right now. So, Dr. Juliet, may I ask you, please, could you give us an introduction to the program that you were in? And oh my God, your book, Sparky, Surviving Sex Magic. That is a tough read, but a very, very important read. So I know it's not easy to do a synopsis, so take your time, please. Me and Cathy will be here in the background.
Well, I just, every time I do interviews with you and Cathy and now I'm meeting quite a few MK Ultra survivors who are contacting me and coming forward. And the story is always very much the same. People are sold into the program at the age of 6. I was sold by my father into the MK Ultra program at the age of 6. And clearly in my background, my uncles were all OSS and then CIA agents. My uncle was one of the founders of the National Security Agency and then set up GCHQ in Great Britain for many years. He was there. So I came from the intelligence bloodline family background. So I was sold in the program at the age of 6 in 1955. The MK Ultra program was started in the United States in 1953. And so I was one of the first ones in there. And so I think that helps. I mean, it's important. I'm 76 now, and it's important to look at us original old people who went in first generation in that batch who actually worked with the Nazis who were brought in on Paperclip. All the Dr. Greens who were at the different facilities were all the Nazis with the thick German accents. My uncles were all Nazis. They were Germans. Said there were family connections between my family and the Nazis they brought in. I don't know what they were. I can't track them down, but in any case, it didn't make my life any better. I was immediately put into the program to have my mind fragmented, broken up into dissociative identities. People confuse that with personalities. It's all one personality, but the identities, it's your ability to split experiences, memories, and different identities into completely separate compartments, which makes I was being trained to be a spy. I mean, that's just clear, very clear. And eventually put into the program Sex Magic. All of this involves satanic ritual abuse, sexual abuse, terror. They were constantly extracting blood from my nose. And I don't know if you can see it, but I've got had chronic problems with my sinuses, multiple surgeries because they kept a cannula up inside my head. And maybe you can see the scar there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my nose makes some funny noises I hear on the microphone sometimes. But that was they were constantly drawing blood out from the venous sinuses in my brain. So in sex magic, they were training me as a Russian agent, and that involved a great deal of astral projection, travel, time travel, space travel, interdimensional travel, being able to discard the requirements for spoken language and just doing everything psychically, which I did. And so but I knew I knew that if I didn't get out of that program and go out on my own, even though that terrified me, I was going to be a prostitute for the CIA, and my future would have been very much as Cathy's future was, being an instrument of spying and transferring documents and having a high level people do whatever they wanted to me. I did escape at the age of 17, and how much I escaped, I'm not exactly sure, but I got away from a camp in Monterey, California, which is now called Esalen, and it's a high-end spa, but then it was a barn and a hot spring, and it was where they took record executives to like drug them and get them sexually compromised and photographed, and then obligated to take music stars, and that's how the CIA gained control over the music industry in California. And I was one of their tools. I was one of their party favors, they called me. And my job was to jump around with a tambourine and flowers in my hair and a tiny short dress with no underwear, and get them all high on LSD and rolling around in the ground, get them all photographed, and then I could go study geometry, which is what I really wanted to do, was to pass my exams and get out of that life. But I did what I needed to do to eat and to live and to avoid torture. Interestingly, the guy who was playing the drums on the night that I escaped from, it was called Murphy Hot Spring back then, was Charlie Manson. I knew him for quite a long time. He was a fill-in musician. He was actually pretty good. And I saw an interview of him lately, and he was talking about the Nazi symbol that was carved into his head. And I have an upside down cross carved into my head. So we all have these things carved onto our foreheads and our bodies.
And sorry to interrupt you, but that is also the mark on your head. The upside down cross is a satanic cross. It's the inversion and the reversal of the cross that we come to recognize as being Christ's cross. And it is said that the satanic children, or the MK Ultra children, or they were always chosen children, and the men, mostly men, could do whatever they wanted, but they couldn't kill the child. Everything else, near death, bring them back, realive them, unless if they had that mark, they weren't allowed to take them out. Can you confirm that is the truth?
Yes. I mean, I grew up with the most overwhelming survivor's guilt, because the children around me would be killed. I'd be going through the same thing, but they wouldn't kill me. They had this mark on my head went on when I was like about 4 years old. They had other markings as well. And of course, my uncle was the head cryptographer for the NSA. So I was clearly in that special bloodline category, but I didn't understand why the children that looked just like me on both sides would be killed, and I wouldn't. And
let me come to Cathy. Cathy, darling, you grew up, as you've shared many times, in a very similar situation with pedophiles around you and degenerative, intergenerational, incestual situations. Can you confirm whether you too were given a certain mark on your body that would mark you to be toyed with but yet kept alive?
The ones that I had in MK Ultra were stun gun prod marks. They used to call them beauty moles, and then wherever those moles are set, then they indicate what I'm used for. I'm used to deliver messages to and from government leaders. I'm used for sex, and it would indicate the White House, Pentagon level. And there were many of those indicators that I had experienced. I have many scars from my experience that are just resultant from a lot of the blood drawing of the adrenalized blood. But aside from that, it was the stun gun prod marks, and I've got the still the black signs of a lot of the electric trauma that they would experience, that they would have me experience.
Goodness, at the event at GSIC, and you stood on stage and you delivered just, I will say, perfect unison with everything you've said before, everything in your book, which is The Transformation of America. And this is one of the most important books of our time. It's horrific and horrendous, but it names the monsters who are still running things, the generational families that are still running things. And you and your beautiful husband, Mark Phillips, really did put it all in this book and the names. And on stage, you were sharing with us that Hillary Clinton was actually in charge of running an adrenochrome facility, and you
Yes.
yourself were. Yes, can you tell us more about that beast, please?
Yes, that was in 1977. My owner, since I was 13 years old in MK Ultra, was Senator Byrd. And everyone, I think everywhere, can research quickly that Byrd and Clintons were very much aligned. Hillary Clinton referred to him as her mentor, along with Madeleine Albright, who was the Secretary of State. But she was since she was already involved with all of them, Senator Byrd had sent me to the backwoods of Louisiana for further occult trauma, and through Wayne Cox. Wayne Cox was an occult serial killer and a CIA assassin, and he worked for Bill Clinton's Mina cocaine operations. Well, Hillary at that time was tapping into what the satanic blood rituals were, understanding that is like the basis of adrenochrome when they were using the adrenalized blood of ritually abused victims. And Bill Clinton's half brother, Roger Clinton, was part of his cult, so that it all just fed directly into Bill Clinton's Mina cocaine operations, which was the high level CIA ops. And Hillary just merged her precursor to adrenochrome, the adrenalized blood, for sale through that same market. So that was like the beginning of it. She has been a part of that from the very beginning. And so many died, and I'm one of very few who survived. And Hillary Clinton was very much responsible for the death of a lot of little children for having their blood, their adrenalized blood back then.
There's a lot of reports on what that beast has done, and it's difficult
Yes.
to find proof. That's why having you ladies is absolutely crucial. And I once met a Dr. Annie when Hillary was going for presidency, and we knew that it was all they picked them, they put them in place. They miscalculated the brilliance of us humans, that some would have just voted anyone other than that monster, because that by that time, I can feel really dark energy coming in there. Have it back. And by that time, a lot of things had been revealed and proven. And one of the things that happened was there was a group of 6 doctors, and I met one of them, Dr. Annie, and she told me that that woman, the beast Clinton, was so unwell with certain things that they were going to, if she'd been made president, they were going to report to the media that she was unfit for purpose. And anyway, as was their old MO, modus operandi, to either take out, eliminate in any way, handicap, harm, slander, imprison people to get them out of the way. I just found it amazing that I actually met one of her actual doctors. I find it crazy how come I know this person? How come I know these people? How come they come in? But I really feel like it's divine orchestration, like God, like the spirit, like universe, just bringing me to people like the two of you, so that we can exclude the gossip and really bring actual truth telling people forward, because some people tell stories that actually aren't true, and I don't know why they would. And they're more than likely traumatized themselves. I've got huge compassion for them. I truly do. One other person that you both have mentioned, and this is a subject I want to get into because people go, there are no witches and warlocks in the militaries, Danny. I'm like, are you having a laugh? Really? Let me bring you some proof, some solid proof. Dr. Juliet, please could you describe to us some of the interactions you had with a seriously high level warlock known as Aquino?
Oh, I've had serious interactions with all kinds of them. I was just going to tell you that I met Hillary Clinton for the first time in 1965, and she was also in the MK Ultra program, and we were both being used as we were both Goldwater girls, so we were being used as hostesses for a political event in Illinois, and I've known her on and off since that time. And I saw her the last time in 2013 when I was sort of face to face with her for about an hour, and then after that, this is when she was Secretary of State, but then after that, she disappeared for 6 months. Um, according, since I lived in Russia for 20 years, I read all the Russian news, and according to them, she was shot. Uh, not shot. Her bodyguard was shot and killed in Iran. She was doing some kind of deal in Tehran, and while she was still on the plane, she got a serious head injury, and then was comatose for a long time and kept in a private hospital. And at that time, that's when she left her role as Secretary of State. And when she came back, having known her for 20 years, that wasn't her that came back. So where the real Hillary Clinton is, they've got about 3 models that they walk around with. The new ones are taller, prettier, more charming, but they're not her. But boy, try to tell that. Yeah, I've known her since we were 15 years old, and they switched her out. So,
Well, we know the CIA because a very senior person in the CIA came forward proving that they wear masks. You cannot tell that that is a
well,
man or a woman
it
underneath.
doesn't even really look like her if you know her. Um, it's not that close. It's quite different. It's just that they keep telling you that's who she is, or she is. They show you on TV, and of course, um,
Mm,
it's like a psyop. But
mm.
anyway,
We have to be careful because the monsters make the ridiculous happen with inside of the truth. And so we get a little bit of like, this is a clone here.
mhm,
This is somebody wearing a mask. This is somebody who's acting the part.
exactly,
They do this.
exactly.
So we
And with the videos, they can show old ones as new ones.
Mhm.
So and the voice they've got down. So, but anyway, since we're doing truth and talking about our personal experiences, my personal handler was Senator Alan Cranston in California, Alan McGregor Cranston, and now that I have my memories back, and I realize I spent the time of that book, I was Sparky McGregor. So what I am a McGregor, that's true. And but I probably got that from my handler. So anyway, where were we?
Okay, well, we were sharing the truth that you two have both been subject to the monstrous warlock known as Aquino. Um,
Oh, him.
yeah. So
Yeah, he was very much part of the program since the 1950s. There's also other people alive today who worked for him and were with him, and I'm not going to mention them because they're still very much alive. And yeah, he cut us. Cutting us was part of what he did, and he cut us and made us bleed on his various. He had a ring, so he cut my arm. You can't see the scar anymore, but I had a scar down my arm and bled onto his ring. And it was, I would say he was really bad, but there were others who were worse. And I do want to talk more about when they took the group of children, of which I was one, down to the beach in Mexico for 2 weeks to draw down extraterrestrials, to do transdimensional teleportation, communication, and it's called astral projection, but it's really, I think, taking your energetic body out of your real body, which is extremely dangerous. And a lot of children didn't survive doing that because your energetic body gets stuck and your real body dies. So we can talk about that. So that, I know I was 7 then because my hair had never been cut. And it was very long when I went down there. And then when I came back, they had to shave it off. And I started 4th grade with very, very short hair. So that's, I can definitely say I was 7 years old, 8 years old.
Let me come to.
Or is that 9 years old? I guess it's 9 years old.
Let me come to Cathy for a moment, because obviously I want to balance out the two of you as much as is. Because we could all speak for hours. I mean, you two could both go for hours and hours just on your experiences alone. But for this broadcast, I want us to really kind of cross-reference truth and reality of the people that did, know you little girls in these MK Ultra programs. Cathy, can you give us your experience, is some of them with Aquino? Is he a colonel? I know he's ugly as fuck, with the guy with the funny, crazy, satanic-looking eyebrows, really ugly man.
Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel. Yeah, he was my primary MK Ultra mind control programmer. Senator Byrd assigned him to be my programmer. So I would meet him on various military, NASA, and DARPA installations for programming. He could get in anywhere he needed to be for MK Ultra. He used his satanic temple set on the military bases as a trauma base for the military. I mean, military are in war, they're already traumatized, but he still added the satanic twist in order to manipulate them by that familiar MK Ultra occult theme. He was a pedophile. He horribly assaulted not only my daughter, but many children. He had arrest warrants out for him for what he did at Presidio Daycare to all those children. He was on the Marin County Child Abuse Council, there to cover up his own crimes against the children. So he was very, very horrific by everything I know. Not only did he use torture and absolute horrific blood traumas, but he also, sexually assaulted the children. So he was going full bore on the very worst and lowest of the MK Ultra mind control programs that were possible. Then he used me for many years under the Pentagon to do hands-on mind control demonstrations where he would take me around and he would show the different things that the depths of MK Ultra mind control could do, including regulating blood flow, to make a cut and make it bleed, make it stop, to create pain pleasure reversals, to inflict horrific pain and have me respond with pleasure. Just the numerous different things showing the control that they could have over the brain. Well, in my deprogramming process, as Mark Phillips so brilliantly taught me to deprogram the program first, I would always hear what he was doing, and I learned the ins and outs of my own brain and realize, what he was demonstrating in mind control was what can be done from outside ourselves with our brains. Our brains have the most amazing capacity for healing. If we can regulate blood flow with our brain. Imagine what we can do from within ourselves with the strength of the human spirit, instead of, some little arched eyebrow lieutenant colonel messing from the outside. What we can do from within, when we understand our own mind brain function, we realize, oh, we can regulate our blood flow. We can shut off our pain alarm. And we're able to create absolute healing very fast, rapidly. We have so many capacities that what he was using for bad ultimately was a display of what our brains are capable of. It's like, whoa, I'm going to bring that out for good, because people need to remember that we have resiliency of body, mind, and spirit. And he's he was one of the highest level MK Ultra programmers, and he still lost big time. And I've just been exposing his secrets ever since, because once the magic trick is understood, it loses its spell, So he has been defrocked in that regard, and he's not so powerful after all. His power was in the form of a stun gun and torture.
Goodness me.
Yeah, he needed the children's power, and that's what they were trying to get. They didn't really have the power, not any of these programmers. They wanted the children's power. They thought they could get it through the adrenochrome, they could get it through our blood, they could get it through our abilities, they could get it through sex magic, they could get it through all these things, but they didn't have it. And the reason we're living is that we did, and we used it to survive.
The children being the greatest lessons on the planet, the greatest beings, their innocence, the power, the joy of them, the way that the laughter, and the safety when they're feeling safe just breaks through. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like that beauty. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they hate it.
Yeah, exactly, which is why they want to cause the suffering. And again, for people watching, if they've never met you, Dr. Juliette Engel, and if they've never met you, Cathy O'Brien, you are two of the most important voices on the planet for naming the names. And Juliet, your family line to the monsters at Nuremberg, that World War II information is so crucial. Who were the bloodline? I was telling someone today that you cannot believe how many of the monsters across the planet are all from the same bloodline families. And people go, oh, that's just a conspiracy. Yeah, for a reason, because it's true.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. It goes way back.
Exactly this, and yes, so many of them have, like Hillary Clinton, like you said, you saw her, she was with you in these awful MK Ultra programs. And I have compassion for these children from high satanic bloodlines, because they were tortured in the womb, they came into a life of torture and awful darkness. But the ones I don't have compassion for are the ones that know what they've done and what they were doing just because it happened to them, because they wanted to. I mean, I know it's kill or be killed. It's the 12-year-old boy rituals. One of them's going to be taken out. That bonds all the others together. There's so many stories there. Julia, let's step to the side a bit, because again, I'm shocked. I'm always getting shocked that how close, where I've lived, who I've met, again, to bring people together on this beautiful channel of truth. I lived in San Diego for years. San Diego.
Oh, seriously?
But I lived on the island of Coronado. And the island of Coronado is half a military nuclear base. So every day we see the warplanes and machines and the Chinooks coming in every single day. You could walk down the end of the beach and there's the border, San Ysidro going into Tijuana, and then Rosarita Beach, which is where you were also trafficked to, is all right there, right there. You mentioned in your book, Sparky, that there were Navy soldiers, senior personnel, big men coming off boats and coming in to harm little kids, little girls, and little boys. And the MPs or the local police would be standing in the door watching these men take child after child and block. Again, to the audience, I know it's harrowing, but information is everything. Then you start to stop worshipping everyone and everything when you know that it's the monsters that we're taking down, it's the monsters that we're addressing. Can you share those experiences or just give us some insight, please?
Sure. My experience was steeped in the Navy. My father was a naval officer and he was in the Naval Reserve, and he was also a CIA operative. And that's why we were living in Imperial Beach. I'm sure you're familiar with that ghastly place. Anyway, we were living on the Tijuana sewer. The street was Caspian Drive. That's the closest you can get to Tijuana and still be in California. And our apartment looked down into the Tijuana sewer, which is all open sewer pits. I described it in Sparky. I've been back. It doesn't look much different. And you can see it's the one place where you can stand there with binoculars and see pretty much the entire about 5 miles of Mexican border. And so yeah, that's I was down there, and they would take us regularly over the border, and this would be groups including Senator Cranston and Governor Pat Brown, and a lot of people that I don't who were at that level, but I was 7 years old, so I don't know their names. But they would take us down to Rosarita Beach for 2 weeks of human sacrifice, black masses, blood rituals. And if we wanted to eat, well, they took our clothes. We had no clothes. So the kids were running around naked. And I got so sunburned and so blackened that I had a hard time. My parents had a hard time getting me back over the border when they came to pick me up 2 weeks later. But it was I was never where there were so many drugs involved, and there was so much coercion. You know, if you didn't produce an alien, if you didn't project your energy body into another dimension, if you didn't call down manifestations that everyone could see, you died. So they were on drugs. I was on drugs. How realistic this was, I certainly put my all into it, because they would stand there. They would be, I remember all these men, these high level government people were either naked or wearing Speedo swimsuits, all barbecuing, God knows what, on open grills, and they were eating, and we'd never been fed. So from day until night, we'd be starving. Then they'd start cooking, and they would demand that we do all kinds of things. And as a starving child, you'll do just about anything. So, so that's why I've always been reluctant to like go back there, because I know I was projecting. I know I was in other dimensions. I know I can do that. I know that communication is possible. I know that you can project your energetic body however you want to describe it. But things come back with you, and you have to deal with the consequences of that, and that some part of you stays on the other side. So I could talk about this for hours, and I won't. but that's the and I have those prod marks also all over everywhere you can't see with a piece of clothes. I've got those electric prod marks.
Absolutely horrific. If you remember, and I'm so happy that I asked you during my presentation, I wanted to defend a family member. So my ex-husband's stepsister was Mother Teresa's right arm in Krakow, Poland. This is in the 90s. And her name given was Sister Joachim, or they used to call her Sister Joachim. And she would wear the Mother Teresa very thin white veil with the blue edging, like we always see her in the freezing cold. These nuns would get up at 4 in the morning, freezing cold water, not trained to deal with mental health people, but their agenda was to go onto the streets and look for the dying. and help the dying die with dignity. And it is real and it is true. And I sat with this beautiful lady, a family member, and it was important that I wanted to honor the nuns because I stood on stage saying, Ratman, Fauci, people say that Mother Teresa is a man and that that's his mother or his father, whatever. So I was saying to people, we've got to be careful with the mixed up, deliberate conspiracies. But I can tell you that my former relative, Laura, was a beautiful, beautiful person. I almost stopped and to look down at you, Cathy, and Max Lowen to say, did I get that right? Do you have any information? But I didn't. But when we got back to the green room, can you share what you told me about Mother Teresa, please?
Well, the whole Vatican involvement in MK Ultra has been extensive from the very beginning and was a huge part of my victimization, even to the point where my uncle, who was in the Air Force, was actually flying blackmail videos to the Vatican, to the vault there, where those blackmail videos are kept in order to maintain control over a lot of people. MK Ultra was a huge part of the Vatican, and the child orphanages of the Catholic Church were notorious human trafficking operations and child sex trafficking operations from the get-go. So I have a little bit different view of Mother Teresa, but I also have a good view of a lot of people within the Catholic Church who do have good intention. And so there's good and bad in everything. And sometimes they don't even see what's actually going on when they're close up to it. But I think one of the things that has to be examined now is that Hillary Clinton and Mother Teresa aligned to show that we could find common ground. Of course, the Catholics are notoriously, supposedly anti-abortion, whereas Hillary was pro-abortion, and they decided they would open up an orphanage for aborted fetuses that lived. And that is in Washington, D.C. Anybody can research it and look into that for themselves. That alignment is horrific. There's a lot that needs to be examined within the Catholic orphanages, from, the notorious Boys Town of the Franklin case, just on through so many others. And above all, where the children that I was around all the time, they were used in the pornography and the blackmail ops, like Mackinac Island was the Epstein Island of its time. It's where all these blackmail videos were made. And again, they were flown to the Vatican by my uncle. So it was their involvement is something that needs to be examined. We need to be listening to people like Archbishop Vigano, who has done all he can exposing what's going on in the church. But there's a lot of corruption there. I think there is in every church, though. So, they've infiltrated every sacred aspect of society. But we need to re-examine our heroes. And I think, one thing you had pointed out at the event, Danny, that I was adorable to me, because when you had Madeleine Albright and Hillary up there, and you were talking about how these ugly spirits just manifest in such ugly physical appearance, and when we take a look at someone like Mother Teresa, we might, consider that factor in too, because there should be a peace in the face. Not even if the person doesn't even need to be attractive, but there should be peace. Where there is love for children, there is peace, and there's a glow, and there's a beauty about it, because the children are so closely aligned with the divine, and they've got that birth, and it radiates and it shares and it reflects back. So if the intention is good, it's something that can be seen. And I think that's something that was never present in anything I've ever seen of Mother Teresa, ever.
I never met her.
So gosh, Cathy, when did you meet Mother Teresa? What did she look like to you? What was the feeling and the sense?
That was more removed for me in that regard, because it was the Senator Byrd that was so aligned there, and what was discussed at places like Mackinac Island, Bohemian Grove, and everything else was her involvement. When it came to Haiti, the Catholic Jesuit involvement there in the Clinton Foundation, the alignment was very clear again. So, yeah, it's just been throughout.
You know, I only found out in recent years that the island of Haiti is half of the island of the Dominican Republic. I didn't know it
Right.
was the same land mass. And it's like, unless you go there or unless you're reading up on it, which is how I found out, that half is Haiti and half is Dominican Republic. And just the way that, in my opinion, China has been used as a global model of complete repression and destruction and digital IDs that they're trying to do in England, for example, right now. I feel like Haiti and all the stories we heard about the Clinton Foundation trafficking and using the number 33 and stealing 33 beautiful little black Haitian children that I believe were taken. There's so many stories around it. Do you girls know anything about this that you can speak factually to?
It's in my testimony, Transformation of America. It's all been proven. The annihilation that was going on there through the AIDS vaccines was very deliberate. What's been done to the Haitian people is it is so off the scale horrific. And the Dominican Republic side of the island is the CIA side, and the CIA Jesuit side, where that alliance in the Order of the Rose was using the Haitian side as their petri dish. They did all their experiments there. They enslaved the people. It's so bizarre, as small as that island is, that what happens in Haiti was just the most devastating things that could possibly happen, and none of it leaked over to the Dominican Republic. That's just definitely worthy of question, and is one raised in my testimony, and what I've been talking about for years, because my compassion for the Haitian people is so strong, and I've been speaking out. As soon as I found my voice, I've just been sounding the alarm on behalf of the Haitians, and still the Clintons aren't prosecuted for their proven crimes against humanity and what they've done in Haiti.
You know that voodoo was born in Haiti. Voodoo was born with the slaves. I think they mainly allude it to the Benin, the people of the Benin tribe that were stolen and taken to Haiti. And there were other influences, Spanish influences, and this religion evolved. But then, of course, unfortunately, you've got white voodoo and you've got black voodoo. But these Hungans, these very powerful people of Haiti who have studied and studied and studied, you know, I'm surprised they haven't been able to influence, given that these monsters we're discussing, the Clintons, for example, um, use magic themselves, black magic. It's proven through and through, isn't it? I mean, what do you both feel about and what have you seen with black magic ceremonies?
Seen
It's
a lot of
definitely
them.
done. Go ahead, Julia.
I was going to say a lot of them are done, and yet here we are. And sure, the Clintons have all that power. Hillary Clinton practices all those things, and I'm quite sure that she's not with us anymore. Yeah, the you can't. I don't know how to say this. The idea that is a greater influence than purity of heart, than caring, than love, is just, they're just nowhere near as strong. Sure, they can hurt you and they can damage you. And particularly when you're vulnerable, like if you're doing astral projection or moving your energetic body out of your physical body, you become extremely vulnerable. And that's when the black magic is particularly dangerous for you. So inducing that in like hysteria in a group like the Jonestown massacre, where you had 900 people so taken out of their ability to think and their ability to reason, and I think it was like they were like taken out into those ceremonies with the astral. It's not the right word, really. It's not astral projection. It's your energetic body, your spiritual body leaves your real body to a point where you're extremely vulnerable. And then you get convinced to do things like take something that probably wouldn't even kill you if you hadn't like already been halfway dead because you did this to yourself or were convinced to do this. Yeah, they do it, and they're doing it to us now. That's what COVID was about. We have a class of people who just are terribly annoyed that the rest of us exist on this planet and they want us gone.
Mhm. Do you think monsters like Bill Gates are affecting black magic, along with his killer mosquitoes stealing land, making carcinogenic fake meat, blocking out the sun like he's some kind of god? Do you think someone like him is projecting black magic and voodoo into the field?
Well, he's doing all those things. You could call that projection of black magic. The magic is just evil, and 90% of my MK Ultra experience revolved around magic, about teaching me to do magic, me to put spells into other people, me to like enter another person's body and do things and influence them psychologically, which I didn't find terribly difficult, but wrong. I wouldn't do it and I won't do it again. But it's that's magic, and everything in our television, our books, our stories, our clothes, magic. This is magic. This is good. No, love is good. Being in yourself, caring for the people around you, caring for the environment, feeling love and joy and the sun on your face. That's more magic than any of the black evil spells. I'm not saying that you don't have to be on your guard, because you do, but
Well, how
the
would
strength is in love.
Dr. Juliet, how would you advise people watching this who may now, because that's often the program, drop into fear and go, oh God, no, we don't need to go into fear. That's the weakest power that we have. When we go into fear and terror, they can lose our battery. How
We'll
would
drink the Kool-Aid then.
right,
Take the shot.
right, exactly. How would you describe people to best protect themselves? And then I'll come to you, my darling Cathy, with the same question.
I was going to say the thing to do is to listen to Cathy, because I am reaffirmed in this every time Cathy and I meet, and I hear her words. And so I defer to Cathy because she says this so beautifully, and I agree completely. Take it away, Cathy.
That is so sweet. Well, everyone needs to know who they are and why they're here. They need to know their own truth. Truth frees us from fear. And that is where we all need to go. We're in this spiritual evolution. When we align with the divine within, we tap into that infinite source of the strength of the human spirit and power of love. That is such a high vibration. This low, dark, negative energy force cannot penetrate it. It's like the dark magic, the spells, the evil, whatever, the Bill Gates and the Clintons and the Bushes and everything else are involved in. The fact is that it's a low energy vibration, dark negative force that has no business meddling in our brilliant minds and lives. They can't even reach the strength of the human spirit. They can't touch it because it's such a high vibration. They can't even get there. And so it's like their darkness can't creep in on our light, but we all have to know our own truth first. And it comes with reclaiming free thought, free will, soul expression, so that we can gather that strength of this human spirit, align with the divine within, tap into the infinite power of love, and claim our victory, because we got all the power. They only got as much power as we give them or let them steal. And it's absolutely absurd that we buy into their illusions anymore. It's over. Truth frees us from them, and love, live in the love we are, gives us the victory.
I love hearing you say that, Cathy. I just always feel so good after hearing that. And it's not easy. it's a hard road finding yourself, especially deprogramming yourself. We've all had some degree of extremely negative protein programming at this point through television and media and the 5G and cell phones and computers. But you can find your way. You need to do that, and you need to get to love, stay in love, stay out of fear, and play what Cathy said over and over and over, because that is our strength. And that's what they're trying to steal from us. They hate us that we have that, and they don't. And I've known Bill Gates since 1963, and that is not a brave, clever man, and why he is in that position. He's a tool, but the power is in the wrong place if the power is able to terrorize us, make us fearful, cut off our air, cut off our food, block the sky, destroy our physical bodies. And that's where we are right now. So like I was saying earlier to Danny, we have to approach this completely differently. We're not going to get there by following any kind of traditional path. And shall I talk about that, or are we out of time?
Let's just keep going. I love you guys. I'm so proud to know you both. I'm so proud to, hold my platform and share, because our brothers and our sisters, they need this information. This also helps them plug into their own healing. And
Oh, definitely.
right. So no, go ahead and share share freely.
Well, for the past, if you don't know me, I had a lot of success with helping to end human trafficking, and particularly child trafficking, in the former Soviet Union. In Russia, Russia wound up adopting very good anti-trafficking laws, rules, trained their police, built shelters, and at the same time, the Ukraine went woke. So the two countries that were very much alike became very different, and I see that. So it happened to people that were almost indistinguishable, speaking the same language, having the same culture. There was no visa requirement to go between the two countries. They were so close. And suddenly there was a division. One went traditional values and religion and exploring freedom and love. And the other one went woke, repression, suppression, freedom being things that we would consider mutilation of children, trafficking of children, adrenochrome production, multiple factories producing designer bioweapons. This is happening now in this country, and we need to stop it. And I've been trying for 10 years to follow traditional legal and foundational and NGO, all the structures that are set up in our country that should be able to work with people like me to stop this nightmare going forward in our own country. But they won't. They push back against everything I try to do and other people try to do in terms of rescuing survivors, helping survivors, getting children out of tunnels, ending the child trafficking into the United States. We should be doing that. Can't seem to do that. Is all a matter of a lack of will and the fact that money and power and demonic power are controlling everything right now at that level. Now, that doesn't mean they control at this level. So we need to change things, and we need to think differently and stop trying to operate within the construct that's now being used against us, and go outside of the box, which is what you were doing at your conference, and manifest that more and more. And I think that you made important connections, and I think that more and more of us are being pulled together to expand on what we are. And at some point, I want to start talking about star forts, because I think that the Earth itself is shifting and changing, and that old mechanisms are being activated. and that they relate to the star forts that were built by who knows who. We don't know. So it's time for human beings to acknowledge that um, there are a lot of things we don't know. We don't know anything.
You know, we should talk about the star forts and your project in Russia in detail, Angels Over Russia, the next time you and I do a one-to-one. But gosh, so many things to say. First of all, I want to say, and Cathy was there as witness, and people watching who've been to my beautiful events are also witness. I'm a bombastic bitch, okay? I have such a passion for humanity, for our children, for all of us. I'm going to use my passion, my love, my voice. Now, a lot of people get triggered, and that's their trigger. Okay, there's not much I can do about it. I do spend my time apologizing half the time, but I don't. Got it. My job is to help people wake up, right? I know what my job is here. I know what I'm here for. And anyway, there's always going to be people that get upset or get hurt. But for my speakers, I hand select them. I even hand select the vendors to make sure there's no infiltration of negative energy. If they're my people, everyone there I feel responsible for. And if any of the speakers, like we had Praveen Mohan from India on stage. He has millions of followers. We had Billy Carson on stage. Again, he's a researcher, decoder, beautiful man, millions of people. But my point is, they're two of the most humble men I know. You know, and if any, and Cathy O'Brien was on that stage. And other beautiful people. But if there was anyone there that had an ego to just be building their fame and having the most shocking story, and I wouldn't connect to them. This is a heart resonance frequency that we all are attracting to each other, and it is that magnificent attraction that does and will change the world. And like everybody was like the love in the room, the frequency that we build. It's incredible. And when people go home from a GSIC, from a galactic spiritual conference that I run, and I am taking ownership, of course, because it's my right to, it's my mission. I fund the whole bloody thing too, and take all the knocks and punches and pain and gossips and all the rest of it. But we need more people to come together, stand up, speak the truth. And I notice also, as I've brought these incredible people forward, there are other conferences that are inviting them to speak. And I don't have an ounce of jealousy. I am happy. I'm like, well, take care of my friend. And, you obviously have to pay them well. This is their life. But witnessing and so modeling something, like you said, outside the box, that bloody corny term, outside the box, it's important. It's important. And the people that stand on the stages and that witness to the beloveds, we have no idea who's sitting in that audience. It's gone through way, way worse. That's why we can never judge someone's pain, right? Everyone's pain is important to them. People go, oh my God, I haven't been through what Cathy's been through or what Dr. Juliet. But we shouldn't be saying that, because then we're not allowing ourselves to heal our trauma, right? Dr. Juliet, you in this book, Sparky, Surviving Sex Magic, which I recommend, but do not leave it around for your children.
It's not for children. No, that's why I put the sex magic on there, so that people won't mistake it for
because
a children's book.
At a gallop, Juliet. You open the page and you are already, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even have time to have a cup of tea, like straight away. I know we have to have a bit of like humor here and there, but I wanted to ask you, because with the MK Ultra programs, people talk about Project Monarch being one of the biggest ones, although there are several others, which I would love to share the names. But Dr. Juliet, throughout your book, Sparky, you shared that every time you were taken, that your parents allowed it, because you had monstrous evil parents. They would allow these people to come and take you to what was called an annex. I want you to tell where these annexes are that you were tortured in, and why did they have Dr. Greens, Dr. Whites, nanny blacks who were male? Can you share, please, as much as you can?
Well, to support all that, the National Security Archive of the U.S. government in 6 months ago just released 1,200 pages of documents where they admit all of this, that the CIA did this, and they explain how they set up the annexes. They call them CIA safe houses. We called them annexes, but how they did it all over the country in hundreds of locations, and so that people, like, they would have an entire floor of a hospital, and everyone else working in the hospital wouldn't know what they were doing there, or they would take a building in a religious retreat, and the entire building would be theirs, but all the other retreats would be legitimate. Um, so my experience was from Seattle up into northern Washington State, down into all over California, and then into Mexico, where there were different annexes, and in each one there was a Dr. Green who was the head, and he was always had a German accent. And since I went in 1953, and my uncle was so high up in the intelligence community, I'm sure I must have encountered Dr. Mengele, who was one of the first. Of course, they wouldn't tell me that because he always went as Dr. Green. Then underneath him was a Dr. White. I have some pictures of. There was a Dr. White, and then there would be Dr. Brown further down, and there would be Nanny Blacks, and the Nanny Blacks were men of ambiguous sexuality who were dressed as nuns. And this is Dr. White. This is the Dr. White who started the MK Ultra program with Sidney Gottlieb and the bad boys, the evil men. And he's the one that he became my first handler. He's the one my father sold me to, and he's the one that raped me in front of my father. So his name was White, Hunter White, George Hunter White, and he was a monster, absolutely was a monster. And so he, maybe they came up with the color idea because that was his name, but that was the repeating series. There would always be, they would use colors for anonymity and protection. And that's how they hid the safe houses. They hid the annexes.
Right, right. Well, they weren't safe houses for you children.
Oh, God, no.
Part of the mind control was they would even create a bedroom that kind of looked like your bedroom. I mean, the depth and the manipulation and the thinking, and then ramming all the drugs they could in you as well. It's so unimaginable. That's why people go, this is too Alice in Wonderland for me. Well, you want to know why Alice in Wonderland came about? Would anybody like to explain these trauma films? Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Dumbo, Snow White. Would you like to go a little into that environment?
Well, Disney was in on it at the beginning. So in 1955, I was living not far from Disneyland. And very often the sessions would be at Disneyland. Our MK Ultra training in terms of seduction and capturing people and getting them compromised went on at Disneyland. So I don't have fond feelings for Disneyland, but yeah, and so it's repeatedly the stories. I mean, look at Pinocchio. They even have a child, an island. What is it called? Where the children are taken and then they are disappeared. They're eaten. I mean, it's and the Peter Pan. Their children are getting eaten. They're orphans. They're being eaten by the crocodiles. It's all part of the mind control programming, and it's just sick. And we've got to end it, or they're going to end us.
Well, I mean, they have failed. I know it doesn't look like it because it's
No, we're still here.
yeah, the beast is dying and they're still doing their best. They're lashing and they'll take as many people out as they possibly can as they are dying. You know, it's like in England where right now this, chinless wonder, Keir Starmer. this white buffoon. Because you see, Trump's come in, and then here's where you go. You mention a name. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care about Trump. I don't care about what people think about him. I'm watching the man. That's what I'm doing as an individual, free thinking soul. I'm watching his actions. But you see, people, they cannot take being wrong, because what if he really is the greatest man in that job right now? But there are people that will go, oh yeah, but no, he's this and he's that, and they realize they were wrong, and he actually is a really good guy. So I don't get involved in politics, but he's a good example. When he got back in power and he wiped the floor with the immigrant gangs, these are soldiers. Why the hell aren't we saying who they are? They are soldiers. They are men of a certain fighting age from every country on the planet. I guarantee the number one religion they follow is Islam. I guarantee it. But the spineless, buffoons that run my country, let's say England, Britain, that, oh no, we mustn't say that. Let's not offend them. Okay. And now they're trying to say to us in England, right? Because so Trump's wiped the floor with them. Yes, they can't do this, what they're doing there right now. So here in England, they have taken the stand that we British are going to be forced to take a digital ID so that will prevent the immigrants taking our jobs. It is the biggest joke and bollocks you ever heard in your life that they brought those fuckers in. They brought them in. Our government allowed all the millions of immigrants in, stuffing a hotel, offering 35 grand at least a month to the hotel owners, giving these boys money. And they're out on the streets, they're causing all kinds of trouble. I was doing delivery, I'm not doing it again. It was a food delivery thing. I was being lazy. I learnt my lesson. This man came to the door, and the hatred that you can hear it. I mean, I'm telepath. I mean, it's scary what I pick up. He is hating that he's delivering groceries to some white bitch in a whatever in a house, and he kicked my door, and he scared me. I would have punched him if he'd come at me, because I'm not just going to be. It's just past trauma in my life, unfortunately. But he walked down the driveway, and I thought, oh my God, I am never getting that food delivery system again. They could be injecting our food, they could be doing all kinds of things. And again, we've got to be conscious of these things. But up the road, there's a massive hotel in a country lane. And like we all know, it's full of immigrants, but they're not immigrants, they're soldiers. And there's plans, and the plans have come out. And the plan is, and I'm just going to speak it because this is alleged. And if I'm wrong, guys, I will hold my hands up publicly and I will apologize. But I am concerned that these immigrant hotels in Britain are largely full of radical Muslim soldiers, and they are going to run the streets and try and force us to submit to Allah, their God. Here's the thing. The people that let them in, Blair, those arsewites, Keir Starmer, the heads of the heads, the high families, the Rothschilds, the families, the bloodlines, well, they worship Satan. So there's no God from any other religion to them that's going to be higher than their God, Satan. So even they are being fooled and tricked, and they're not going to get their promises that they're promising. I mean, anyway, and this is the kind of conversation that people are scared to have. And like I said, allegedly, if I'm wrong, I will apologize. But we have got to put the information into the field, don't we, Cathy O'Brien?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's MK Ultra, no matter how you look at it, whatever religious name you want to put on it. Anytime it's dark, negative, and involves assault and violence and trauma and blood, that's, we can call it satanic. We can call it whatever religion we want. But the point is, it's against human nature. When it's against human nature, then it's a violation that makes people more compliant. It's how our brains respond to trauma. It shuts down neuron pathways, leaves us more compliant, easily led. And ultimately, that's the goal, is to create a very compliant society. So in order to do that, trauma will be used. And if it's multi-generational, belief-based, trauma-based, MK Ultra soldiers, then that's what they'll use. Because George Bush had said at Bohemian Grove that if they lose control over the minds of the masses, that they'll reduce our numbers to a more manageable size. What better way to reduce our numbers to a more manageable size than the injections and the violence? If by extreme violence, it reduces our numbers and causes extreme trauma, which leaves us more suggestible and easily led. So it's a double whammy. It's the intention of what's being done with all of this. And again, we rise above it by living the love we are, because we're the highest vibration. It's who we are. It's why our humanity is under attack, because they want to take that power away from us. We can't count on government to do it for us. The governments are overwhelmed trying to clean up the corrupted system, the corrupted construct. If there is good government, they're working hard to dismantle all that. It can't be fast enough. It's up to each and every one of us. It's a spiritual evolution. And when we reclaim it, we stop this nonsense once and for all. No matter what direction it comes from, we know not to comply with it anymore. We see exactly what's happening, and the violence won't have the effect that they're looking for. Knowledge is our defense against mind control. It really is truth that makes us free. And it's an individual journey that we all have to take and start taking responsibility for our own minds and lives. Look what you did, precious Danny. That was just beautiful. To recognize what was coming up to your door and say, no, no more. That's what we need to do in all facets of our life, is to take back our power, recognize the darkness when it comes towards us, and stop complying with it. It's not how we're intended to live. You know, this is our time. It's our time to shine and overcome the imposed nonsense, no matter what direction it comes from.
Yeah, so incredible. Honestly, I could sit here just for hours with you two. Cathy, I just want to come to one kind of final point that I'd asked Dr. Juliet earlier. Can you name, other than Project Monarch, which I was told came out of Montauk, which is an area, a geographical area near New York, can you confirm where it was, and any other names of any other projects that people need to be aware of?
Monarch is a multi-generational project, because it had been found in the Hitler-Himmler research that there's that after 3 generations, any abuse base, knowledge base, or belief system becomes autogenic in the brain. That's why bloodlines are used, because they're passing information down. It's how our brains work. It's genetically passed down information. So they were looking how to manipulate the generations into compliance. And it had been found in Hitler-Himmler research, there's no trauma more horrific on the human mind than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming. Right up there close to that is Satanism, occultism, blood trauma. That horrific, dark, negative is another one. And these are a strong basis of mind control. When we look at Disney, you know, again, research project Paperclip, we see Disney was aligned with Werner von Braun. What does a rocket scientist have to do with a children's cartoon? Mind control. It was generational mind control from the get-go. They were already subliminally putting in sexualization of children, and these occult traumas were coming in through Disney right from the get-go, from day one. So, you know, we look back on that, and they deliberately affected the generations to the point now where child sex trafficking is the most lucrative business in the world, because too many people didn't stand up. They didn't find that strength within them to stand up and say, this is wrong, and take that step. Now, people are finally catching on to it. They're doing it now, but we have a ways to go to understand our own mind-brain function, and to understand that has been predominantly Project Monarch, multi-generational conditioning, that has been the MK Ultra mind control of choice by this handful of global perpetrators, these self-appointed, self-anointed puppet masters, has been to use the generational effect. So it's been over 100-year plan put in place, and they lost. You know, they already lost control of it. But we need to remember that we have that strength of spirit, that we have the ability to overcome even the genetic line, because soul is stronger than genetics. I'm living proof of that. And that's an important fact of our saving grace of humanity that we all need to remember. Soul is stronger than genetics. Gather that soul, that strength of spirit, and start taking a stand, because we don't have to comply with this nonsense anymore.
Yeah. At our event, you met my beautiful friend and everyone's friend, Tony Rodriguez. When he heard that you were coming to speak at this JSIC, he was like, "Oh my God, Danny, I can't wait to meet her." And he's so happy and joyful and full of love. And of course, went through a American military slave sexual abuse program called Project Grill Flame, where the American government funded and allowed children under the age of 10 to be kidnapped and held in these wooden huts on the land of an airport called Inyokoon Airport in California. The huts are still there, the arrogance of them. I'm like, go and collect the DNA and prove that it's short, right? Anyway, so Tony was there, and the project he was on was Project Grill Flame. So that's another project that we've had confirmed. Anyway, I saw you guys, just loving on each other and talking so much.
We're still in constant communication.
Yes.
It's just what an amazing person he is. And yeah, a lot of respect, a lot of respect. And there's so many different projects, but the one that I know the most about is Monarch and the multi-generational effect. And I do know that is the one that was used on the global population for ushering in the slave society agenda.
Okay, thank you. Now, Dr. Juliette, I wanted to jump on this earlier, but we had so much other things to balance between the two of you. I didn't want to get distracted. But may you share with us, because so many people know nothing about, oh, there's Gloria Masters. I love her. But I'm just texting in there, Gloria from New Zealand. Yeah, beautiful lady. Survivor like you two. You mentioned Charles Manson. Most of us have been programmed to believe that he ran a cult and was this crazy man that stabbed Sharon Tate to death, who apparently was Roman Polanski's girlfriend, apparently. Can you tell us about him? Like, how did you meet? What was he like? What do you know the truth to be about him, please?
Well, this was the late 50s, early 60s, up until 1966. Used to see him fairly often. He'd come to the, call them events, whatever the doctors were putting on, and I think events is probably what he was invited to. Whatever required music. He was sort of the dog's body. He had short hair. He was geeky looking, and he was the AV, the audio visual nerd, who would set up all the equipment. And he was also a fairly good musician, so he would fill in for whoever was missing. I mean, a lot of times the singers would be brought to Murphy Hot Springs, but they weren't great musicians. They really weren't, like the Doors and the Journeymen. They weren't musicians. They really couldn't play music. They could sing. So the sort of the resident band was put together, and he was part of it. So he played drums, he played guitar, he sang a little, he did some keyboards, and that's how I knew him. He was just the resident dog's body who would carry stuff around, and he was just like the other certainly he was one of the MK Ultra kids. He would have been my age, and we were all just trying to get through this, do what we needed to do, and get out of there. And the time I escaped at Murphy Hot Springs, he was on a work release program from Foster Island. And I did confirm that. I did look that up and found out that he had been there. So he hadn't done anything yet. And interestingly enough, when I escaped and got to the University of Washington, I wanted to do normal things. I completely erased my memories of childhood and growing up, and I didn't remember them again until my 30s. But one of the first persons I met at the University of Washington campus was Ted Bundy. And the reason I met him is that he was the president of the Young Republicans Club of the University of Washington. And I was like looking to meet some, nice, normal people.
Oh my God, the irony, the irony.
I mean, so within like a few weeks of each other, I met both of them before either one had done anything. They were just clean cut fellows.
So do you think Bundy was also mind controlled?
Well, you got to wonder. People ask, did I really escape? Did I get away from them? I mean, and could this happen? That I'm instantly bumping into someone else who is clearly MK Ultra Monarch programmed. I didn't like Ted Bundy. I was very suspicious of him, and so I never let him walk me home, which he wanted to do. So I had my antennae up, but so I can't explain my life, and I think that's a reason that for me, I want to fix this. I want to correct this. I want to make this program end, but at the same time, I'm still deeply programmed. I know that because I've got the identity issues. I get lost inside my own head. I mean, I have a incredible photographic memory in multiple languages and all this, but they're in different boxes. They don't connect. And I have to work at getting from one to another through very childish routes that involve cartoon figures, and it's like I have to find my way through a Disney cartoon to get from one part of my brain to the other, depending on how far back I go. The childish thinking that put it in has to be used to take it out. So it's very complicated, and so we need people who haven't been programmed. However, I mean, Cathy and I have these connections to the communications abilities and the psychic abilities and the things that they chose us for. So we can contribute in. I shouldn't be speaking for you, Cathy, but I'm happy to contribute in whatever way I can to making this better. But I think non-programmed people are going to have to be a big part of this conversation.
Yeah.
I think writing out memory was the greatest thing for opening neuron pathways, and it's still healing is a process. It's not an event, and it took some time before I reached the point where I don't have to go through every word of the Disney cartoon, to get to the next. But everything is in free flow in my head now because those neuron pathways are open, and that's such a celebration to me. And in that process, I have been able to retain all the heightened senses that I developed when I didn't have any free thought. And that's the telepathic ability and the heightened intuitions and the strong senses and the ability for photographic memory, the ability for so much more brain capability than most people realize we have. But these are our brains. They've been perfectly made. By accessing those extra heightened senses, by still utilizing those, I'm able to stay safer. Like you said, the antenna's up. You know who's bad. You know what's coming. You get this ability. And because I retain those heightened senses, I don't have the overactive adrenal system that a lot of survivors have to still deal with. I got mine calmed down, and it's more normalized now so that I can have peace and good times and, and fun and relax and all that, because I can trust in myself. I can trust in my senses. I can trust that I'm not going to be triggered, which is an absolute luxury, that I encourage all survivors. Get to that point, write out everything, and especially deprogram the program first so that you know what's real. And that was like what I was sharing at the conference. was that it's really important to deprogram that program first, because I thought I was in this DARPA MK Ultra programming moment of that I was traveling through time. And I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I'm saying that this was a mind control program being used to manipulate my perception of Haiti, because that's archaic. It's so primitive there that I would have believed that I had gone back in time. If I had just stuck with that program, I would have never got to the reality of what was being done in Haiti. I wouldn't have got to the reality of what the Clintons were doing, and the MK Ultra, and the child sex trafficking, the annihilation through the AIDS vaccine that was going on at the.
Oh, you froze, my love.
Oh, no.
It's okay. Yeah, because she's going there. So there's energy the whole time we're recording this. So, Cathy? Yeah. So, but the thing is, it's too bad, so sad. No one ever will be allowed, certainly not with our permission.
Doesn't have to. What,
We lost you for a minute.
Berlin, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, just because we deprogram that program doesn't mean that the CIA operates on the best lies are rooted in truth. So, we just don't dismiss everything because the program was there. But we do have to sort through it all and know what the reality is, because it's so important now more than ever that we separate the program from reality so that we can effectively protect children going forward, so that we can stop this from ever happening again. We've got to evolve with that knowledge. That's our defense against mind control.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Cathy, you said something I think is extremely important, and that is that they have lost control of the program. I mean, they've gone their 3 generations, their 100 years, their turnover, and the original guys are dead, the 12 evil men that had this big grandiose plan. Now it's out of control. I think the people that are in control have lost sight of the script, that everything that's happening is sort of on autopilot. Unless there is some superior evil genius that's pulling levers like the guy behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz, which I don't think there is anymore. I think that's gone now. We're just like spinning out of control, and
I think he's still there pulling the levers, but nobody is believing it because they got the curtain pulled back.
That's right.
They
the curtain's open.
The spell's broken. It's over. They lost. When Mark rescued me in 1988, he said the bad guys already lost. They just don't know it yet. So I mean, even back then, it was over. The whole New World Order plan was spinning out of control back then. Now they're just throwing tantrums in their last little bits to hang on to the ones who have been multi-generational conditioned and haven't broke the chain yet. And that requires reclaiming free thought, free will, and it's within us all to do it. So come on, everybody, let's hurry this up a little more so we can claim our victory.
And then let's go to a star fort.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh.
Next conversation.
Yeah, next conversation. And then I want to get into like astral travel and cloning. And there's just so many areas that we can kind of dance through, tiptoe to, and bring more information to our brothers and our sisters here. So I just want to thank you, ladies, so much. I have just the greatest respect for you, for everything you've endured and healed and are here to share with anyone who will see this. Thank you so, so much. Feel free, Juliet and then Cathy, to say any words of encouragement to people out there that may be on a similar journey.
Be brave. Get Cathy's book, PTSD, before you start plunging too far into your memories, so that you understand what's happening to you. And then be aware of the danger of the suicide program, so that you control your memories coming at you by writing them out slowly or pulling them out of yourself slowly in a very controlled manner. And you can all do it. You can do it. You can recover and be safe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, everybody can heal. It's within us all. It's PTSD Time to Heal is a reminder what we've been blessed with all along, the ability to heal from within ourselves. And when we do that, reclaim our self-control and inner peace. And it's posted on my website for everybody. It's with a pay what you can if you can option. So people can have it now regardless of income, and it's secured there that way. Because everybody everywhere has endured trauma. They've endured grief. They've endured guilt. This is a traumatic planet, and we need to stop those puppet masters from manipulating it anymore. Live life the way it's intended to be lived so that we all can embrace the reality of life and it's all its glory and its beauty and start living the love we are.
Beautiful. You know, Cathy, when I watch you on other broadcasts, I sit here like nodding and beaming and grinning at the way you just exude. You know, these aren't just flowery words. You're the embodiment of the most traumatized little girl from birth, and the proof, like the physical proof of the total recovery. And you can't get re-triggered. And I know we've got friends between us. Some are fully healed, others are right at the end, and you have to take a little bit extra care with them. And but the triggers are there to be, you know, deactivated, and it is possible, definitely is possible. And like you said, when you write with the physical pen, which is why they're trying to block handwriting or long handwriting or cursive, as they say in America, handwriting, because it connects things in the brain to the child. So that's a deliberate disconnect. We should not be losing these ancient tools, because obviously, but making the trauma physical on the page helps to remove and disassociate, doesn't it, to the trauma, and then helps the healing come in. Wow, I could just, like I said to you, just talk to you ladies for days and days. But Dr. Juliette Engel, who wrote many books, but this is the one I'm currently reading, Sparky Surviving Sex Magic. Do not leave it lying around. Be prepared to be shocked and stunned. And beautiful Cathy O'Brien with an E. It's O'Brien with an E. This is her book, The Transformation of America. The first half is written by her beautiful husband, who's now an angel, where he lays out the national security elements of his work. It is a very tough read, and it is very small print. So you have to be dedicated to really wanting to understand how your countries work, how America works also. And the second half of the book is Cathy's absolutely harrowing testimony of her and her daughter Kelly, and how they were used by people with the most famous names literally on our planet, not just in America. So again, you know, difficult reading, but important reading in order to help us all break the binds that tied and keep moving forward together. So ladies, again, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
And to you beautiful people watching, thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence. Together we all get stronger, and I send you so much love from my heart to yours, and I'll see you all soon.